Hey there, it's Lacy J from Space Bear Media, the makers of Lost in My 40s. Did you know that you can go to spacebearmedia.com right now to access all our content, including our weekly video pre-shows where your hosts ponder ethical questions related to the week's episode and answer some fun questions just for, well, fun. Speaking of fun, if you haven't, thanks to our content, please consider rating or reviewing Lost in My 40s on your favorite app, or recommend us to a friend who loves Lost. Hello, welcome back to Lost in My 40s. This week we are on episode 19, which is one of the biggest teases of an episode this season, because no matter what or how many times they imply it, spoiler alert, at the end we still don't know why Locke's in a wheelchair. But let's talk about the time before that. Could everyone please help me pronounce this episode? I couldn't do it last week.
Deus Ex Machina.
Deus Ex Machina.
Ex Machina. I said Deus Ex Machina or some stupid shit like that. I don't know.
You know, like when people say Dios mío, my God, Deus. It's the same thing. Dios, Deus.
Oh, that actually helps me with the pronunciation a little. Yeah, I'm more familiar with Spanish than I am Latin.
Well, it's based off of Latin.
Yep.
It's a romance language.
Right. I knew that much. So in English, this phrase I can't pronounce means God from the machine. This is a Locke episode, and I am going to present it to you. But first, my husband, Benjamin, catch us up on the power rankings that didn't move much.
They did not move much. Kate holding strong in first. Much probably has to do with those rosy cheeks.
But this is a Locke episode, so
it is a Locke episode, and we had Locke making up some serious ground with his building of baby furniture last week. And then we had Jack reassume third place, knocking Sun out of the top three. She basically needs to get naked if she's going to stay in the top three, because like at the episodes where she is in a bathing suit or whatever, she rises up really quickly, as do I.
Yes, absolutely.
And then the bottom of the barrel stays the same. Shannon, Sawyer, Ethan, Boo. Let's get on with it.
All right. So, this episode opens in a flashback. We can tell that it was a while ago for two reasons. One, Locke is walking, so it's at least 4 years before that. I have a feeling it's even more than 4 years because he has a stupid fucking haircut.
Yeah, that hair. Seeing that hair on Locke just didn't work.
Mm-hmm. No, it made him look like a doofus.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so he's
probably
working.
That's kind of the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. So he's at work, and he's working in a toy store, and he's putting together the game Mousetrap when a child approaches and kind of asks him what that is. And there's some serious foreshadowing here when Locke explains the game and says to the child, if you set it up just right, you can spring the trap and catch the mouse. So while he's doing this, there's a woman kind of standing to the side. She's wearing a horrendous looking, like floor-length fur coat.
Real?
For real.
Oh my God.
So he asks her if she needs some help, and she says she's like looking for footballs or something. He tells her that there are regular ones in aisle 8 and Nerf ones in aisle 15. So of course 8 and 15. She thanks him and leaves, and you can tell that he's like curious or suspicious. You can tell that that's not really what she wanted, but we don't know yet what it is. And then right before the scene ends, the camera focuses in on the board game, and the trap is sprung and the mouse is caught. Did anybody play this game when they were kids? Anyone?
Yeah, it was just a giant pain in the ass to set it up.
Yeah,
no,
my brother and I played
it.
a lot of this. And Derek, you never did, and Ben?
No, but I just played Doctor.
Gross. My grandparents actually had this, but there was like 2 pieces missing from it, so you can't play the game with the pieces missing. So
yeah,
no.
So no.
I was always annoyed by the little dude who would like dive into the tub.
He always missed.
You had to set him up just perfectly to get that part to work.
Yeah.
We had the game. Did you ever play the game Booby Trap? Since we were talking about short round last week and booty traps, but do you guys ever play the game Booby Trap?
No.
It's a game that I don't think I've seen anywhere else, but my grandparents had it in their house, and it's like this spring-loaded game.
We're grandparents good at having like old ass board games.
Yes.
Mine always
Booby
do.
Trap. Booby Trap was by far my favorite game growing up. That and Stratego, but
I think we talked about. No, go ahead.
I'm gonna actually go look for Booby Trap. I'm gonna see if I can find that on like Amazon or something. It was a fun game.
All right. Let's go back to the island, guys. It is day 39 already. And Locke and Boone are trying to figure out how to get in that damn hatch. Of course, they don't know the numbers are on the side. They don't know the numbers are bad. So they want in. And Locke, in addition to getting this hatch excavated to the point of like 15 feet down at this point, he's also managed to build a trebuchet. So... Ben, sorry, you look like you were going to say something.
No, I was just like, yeah, of course he built a fucking trebuchet out of bamboo.
I mean, builds everything else.
Yeah, out of bamboo. And then there's like one metal piece from the plane that they have fashioned onto it. So it's a spike that looks like it's, going to come down on the glass and smash right through. So, Boone makes a comment about how Locke is hard to understand because one minute he's quoting Nietzsche, I think, and like the next he's an engineer. And Locke just sort of like laughs at that off. And, the Renaissance man that he is. He counts down 3, 2, 1. Let's go. The trebuchet works perfectly. But when the spike comes down into the glass of the hatch, it busts and just destroys the entire fucking thing. Glass has remained intact. And Locke is upset and he screams, "This was supposed to work." And he kind of like stomps on the top of the hatch. And then Boone's like, "Hey, dude, your leg." Well, he probably didn't say dude. That would be Hurley. But he's like, points to this giant piece of shrapnel sticking out of Locke's leg. Locke pulls it out and you can tell he doesn't feel that. So
I want to challenge whether or not this is actually a trebuchet.
Okay,
I'm going to look this up later because a trebuchet works on like the idea of fulcrums and counterweights, and I can't understand how a falling weight would cause the hammer to fall down the way that it did. A trebuchet generally goes over a fulcrum, the weight comes down, and an arm flings out.
Right, and they also are not for ramming things; they're for throwing things.
They're siege engines. Yeah, you use
boulders or whatever.
Usually to throw small rocks or metal balls at a fortified, like a fortress or something like that.
Or pumpkins.
Cows.
Pumpkins. No. Or pumpkins.
Sometimes with catapults, all they did was they'd fling like rotting carcasses and things over the walls because they knew people couldn't get out. So they'd throw things in that would make people sick.
That was the first germ warfare. Was they used bodies of plague victims and launched it into the castle.
Yep.
So the reason that I said pumpkins is that I used to live in the Skagit Valley, which is a very famous place north of Seattle. It has some of the most...
It's like very famous, and Derek's like, I've never heard of it.
The Skagit Valley is famous if you are a farmer because it has very rich volcanic ash soil, and it grows really well. Grows things really well. Like we have the Tulip Festival and it's like the world's leading producer of Brussels sprouts or some shit. Point is, I used to live there. I owned a house there. And right around the corner from my house was a big giant field. And once a year it was used for a trebuchet pumpkin throwing contest right around Halloween.
Nice.
And so people would build these giant trebuchets and you could go watch them and they'd put pumpkins in them and they would launch them. And it doesn't, like you're saying, Ben, it doesn't come down. It uses counterweights to throw things.
Whip it up into the air.
Yes. And so they would launch these pumpkins and then, obviously they would smash and it'd be awesome. And then just the farthest the pumpkin went, you would win the contest. Is that where the band
got the name Smashing Pumpkins?
Hey, I doubt it.
I think that's just a Halloween activity for miscreants.
Yeah. So anyways.
So wasteful.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not wait. The birds probably ate the pumpkin.
Pumpkins are somewhat useless to begin with. I mean, other than the seeds.
Yeah, does
Pumpkin
anybody
pie.
really eat pumpkins? Yeah,
Pumpkin
pie. Yeah,
That's
I
the only
guess
thing
so.
I've ever had. My mom would bake it. Yeah.
You know, an entire
the stuff
swath of our
that's in-
population that's obsessed with pumpkin spice every fucking year.
Oh, that's
that's
crap.
well,
That's
true.
crap.
The,
All right.
the majority of the pumpkin that you buy in the grocery store are not the pumpkins that you buy to make jack-o'-lanterns.
Right.
They're
They're a different
very,
type
very
of squash.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they?
And then a
Yeah.
lot of people in other countries refer to butternut squash as pumpkin.
Oh, really?
I-
I did not know that. All right. That is not
pumpkin is
today's
also
fun
something
fact.
So little
pumpkin
Seattle
is also
facts.
something that's it's an activity that's done a lot in the South.
Oh.
Oh, pumpkin? Jesus fucking Christ, Benjamin.
I think Derek said it earlier. If you can't keep it in the pants, keep it in the family.
That's right.
I think that's more of a
Right.
Game the whole family
Appalachia.
can enjoy. Yeah.
I'm going to move on from you nasty boys. It's nighttime now on the island, and Locke is sitting by a small fire. He's tied a piece of cloth around his wound, but he is like poking at his legs with safety pins, and there's no sensation in either. Just to make sure of that, he decides to remove a burning stick and put it out on the bottom of his fucking foot.
So smart. Yeah.
And let's talk about how dumb this is. I really think that Locke should be smarter than that, because you
Yes.
know, if
You get
your
infected.
foot foot does work, then you're gonna have this
right.
wound, or it can get I mean, it just was stupid,
Yeah.
but whatever. That takes us to the lost title screen.
If however, you were in possession of a nice clean pair of shoes, you wouldn't have to worry so much about it.
That's right.
You all
Just
got on
saying.
me, told me the shoes weren't a priority when he was making drugs and glue, but now
I
you
know.
was
I never said they
40
weren't a
days
priority.
ago.
I said he's already got the soul for it. So
you had
That was
to
my- that
say
was
that
my
joke
affirmation.
twice.
it was really bad. I know. I hoped that it had an additive effect. That if I said it twice, it would actually be funny the second time.
Well, we'll have to have the listeners
will
let
tell.
us know.
History will
Yeah.
tell.
Yes.
Somebody's
my
going to have
God.
to start knitting socks, too.
Right. Right.
Put
Shannon.
fucking Shannon to work.
Yeah.
Exactly.
She's good with knots. So, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's right.
Rope.
That's
I
right.
wonder how Saeed's doing at this point.
Yeah.
Tied
He's
up.
probably
in the
tied up
jungle.
right now.
We haven't seen him for a while.
Yep.
Yeah, he's all tied up.
Comes back with rope burns on his wrists. All right. So, anyways, after we come back from the lost title screen, it is the morning of day 40 now on the island, which is amazing. Locke and Boone back at the hatch. Of course, Boone's like, what the fuck is up, bruh? And because he's just like, you said this would work and the island's giving you messages or whatever. And Locke, of course, he responds like, the island will tell us what to do. And Boone's like, okay. And asks about his legs. Locke looks like he's kind of struggling. He pretends that they're fine, but they're not. And then we're whisked into flashback number 2. It picks up immediately where the first flashback left off. But Locke is like getting off of work, but it's the same day. I shouldn't say immediately. But anyways, he is walking out to his car. He finds a lost dog flyer on the car, and he's looking at that when he notices the woman from the store is standing in the parking lot staring at him. So he starts walking toward her, and she turns to run, and he gets hit by a car. This is the first time you're like, ha, that's it.
Yep,
But
that's
no.
what I thought.
But no. he gets
Wheelchair
up-
time.
Yep. So he gets up and he kind of chases after her, catches up to her, demands to know why he's being followed. And she says, well, I'm your mother.
For real?
Yes, she has her.
Swoozie Kurtz.
Yes,
the
that is
actress.
Susie Kurtz. That's right. That is her name. I used to watch a show way back in the 90s that was she on Sisters? Did anybody
Yes.
watch that?
She looked familiar, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she was on Sisters, and like the premise of the show, there were 4 sisters, and they all had what would be considered male gendered names. And the premise was that the father never wanted girls; he only wanted boys, so he gave them all boys' names. And they had 4 girls, and they were sisters, and she was on it.
That was the premise of the show.
Well,
That was
Oh,
the premise of the show.
Yeah, that was
Boring.
kind of the thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Seems
Well, and
pretty
then it was
fucking...
this sister interaction.
Blank.
Sure, but the premise of the show was
still.
that Daddy didn't
Like
want them.
Boone and Shannon kind of interaction.
No,
Oh.
God.
It's like as far as like thin premises go. Have you ever heard of the show? And it was only on for like it was like a pilot episode or something called My Stepmom the Car or My Mom the Car.
What?
It was like back in the 70s or something, and they did the show about this lady who the entire premise of the show was she had died, but she was reincarnated.
What was she like? Kit?
Like Knight Rider, Kit, or something. You know,
something, yeah, man. I mean, seriously, Michael. Yeah,
really?
man. Seriously,
Did you write this show, Ben?
I did not.
Are you responsible?
But if they hadn't gotten to the idea first, I may have.
Yes, yeah, that's what I think. All right. So anyways, we cut to a diner, and Locke there is sitting there with his mommy, and he wants to know why she's contacted him, and she tells him that he is part of a grand design, and that now that she's found him, it's a sign of good things to come. Locke inquires about who his father is, and she says, "Oh, Locke, you don't have a father. You're immaculately conceived."
For real?
Okay. If you say for real.
that's the last time, I swear.
Yeah.
I should have saved it for that one, but okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm done,
okay.
I swear.
All right. So, and obviously she's got like a crazed look in her eye when she says this. So, I almost think Locke wants to believe it.
Yeah.
He seems like he's kind of a easy to dupe at this point. I think that's why they gave him the haircut. They just wanted him to seem like he's kind of like a really gullible dipshit.
Doofus.
Well, he does hire the private investigator instead of just like diving in, but we'll get to that a little bit later in the episode.
True.
So we're back on the island, and Sawyer approaches Sun like while she's gardening. She's in the little garden that she had made, and he's holding two different leaves and asks her to verify which one is the correct one he should be using because he's got this headache and it's not going away. Nothing's worked, even the aspirin in his stash. She apologizes, but doesn't have any more info for him. Kate approaches as he is walking away, and she asks Sun, like, you know, what's up with Sawyer because he looks all frustrated.
He's trying to arrange a threesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's got a stash. He could barter for that.
Exactly.
That's horrible.
Now we're going into sex.
It's only horrible if she says no.
I know. Oh no.
Right.
So, anyways, Sun tells Kate that he's got a terrible headache and that just won't go away. So we cut to Kate then in the caves telling Jack that she's worried about Sawyer because he's got a terrible headache that won't go away. Jack is shaving. So this is interesting because this is the first time in the show that we get a hint as to how these people don't all have like beards and stuff.
And wasn't he like dry
that.
shaving too?
He
like
was, yeah. So he had a little mirror, maybe taken from a airplane bathroom or something, or even out of a suitcase, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then he was just using that to dry shave, which sounds awful. But
or they have a glassmith among them.
A glassmith before a cobbler?
Glassmith.
I don't know about that.
I don't know.
All right. So, anyways, she wants him to help Sawyer, and he's like over it and says no because all he's going to get back from Sawyer is a snappy one-liner, maybe a nickname or something like that.
That's
and Kate,
he's got a point.
yeah, and Kate like laughs because she knows that he's right.
He's probably right.
Yeah. So, anyways, back in the jungle, Locke is like desperately trying to put his maybe trebuchet, maybe not trebuchet back together. And Boone shows up and jokes that, or Locke jokes that Boone is late for work. And Boone's just like, I don't care anymore. All of this is pointless. And Locke gets upset and says, you know, they have to open this because it's what they're supposed to do. And Boone's like, oh, is that so? Well, if we're supposed to do it, then why the fuck aren't we doing it? And Locke doesn't like that, but he says that he thinks the island is testing their faith. And right then, a small yellow prop plane comes flying overhead that's clearly on fire, and you can see like the trajectory it's heading for the island.
Another crowning achievement of CGI.
Oh, yeah, right? Yeah.
It's like the polar bear. It just like by today's standards, just like, wow, that looks fucking bush league.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Locke looks over. He sees Boone that stares up at the plane. And then suddenly there's this flash. It's just a second or so of Boone covered in blood, like head to toe, still looking up to where the plane was. And then there's this crashing sound. Locke turns again and he sees his mother in her stupid ass coat. Say for real. I swear to God, say it. No,
I wasn't going to.
So she's like standing in her coat and she's pointing, I think, up at the air, almost like she was pointing at the plane. And he looks back to Boone. Boone, he's no longer bloody, but he's chanting, Teresa falls up the stairs. Teresa falls down the stairs. Teresa falls up the stairs. Teresa
Come
falls
play
down
with
the
us,
stairs.
Danny.
Yeah.
And then again, he's covered in blood. And then suddenly Locke is like in his wheelchair in the jungle and he's screaming, don't take it back. Don't take it back. And then the scene changes as Locke kind of dives out of his wheelchair. But when he hits the ground, it's suddenly nighttime and he looks like he had been asleep there.
Yeah.
He's feeling around for his legs to make sure they work. He looks terrified, wakes Boone up. The sun is like just rising on the beach and Locke hands him a backpack and he's like, let's go. We need to go now. They start walking down the beach and then flashback number 3 starts
When I first saw that, I always thought Boone was just going to be like, oh yeah, having a bad trip, huh? I know what that shit's like.
I think he does ask him later, like, were you taking that stuff that made me see my sister get eaten or something like that?
Yep.
So flashback number 3 opens. It starts with a voice, and you hear it say, Emily, Annabeth, Locke. And then we see Locke sitting there in his work uniform at a table. And so I guess this private investigator he hired met him on his lunch hour or something. But they look like they're sitting in the break room. And
Where's Randy Nations?
Yeah.
Where is Randy Nations?
He's dead. I killed him.
Yeah, killed him again.
So anyway, so he like kind of pushes over this folder and finishes the sentence after saying Locke's mother's name in 10,000 words or less. And Locke takes the folder, opens it up. The man tells him that she is definitely his mother because he said something about like he lifted her DNA and then compared it to Locke. That seems a bit ridiculous, but that's what he did. And says that she has been institutionalized for schizophrenia. And when she's not on her medication, she ends up in the hospital. How the fuck he got her personal medical info again?
HIPAA.
Pre-HIPAA.
This is one. 2004. Yeah. No, HIPAA's been around for a long time.
I know, I was joking.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But this took place many, many years before 2004. So
I guess we don't really know exactly how many years before, but I think it's the 90s maybe in the flashback. Anyway, so Locke asks about his father. And the investigator warns him that his father may not even know he exists and that this probably will not have a happy ending. Locke does not give a fuck. He takes the second folder and opens it up. And then we cut to Locke driving in an old-fashioned red Beetle. And he pulls up to a gated home. And you can see just like this palatial estate and a gate, even with a guard tower. So clearly wherever he's headed is somebody that's got a lot of money.
See, that's what you need a trebuchet for.
Yeah.
To launch pumpkins at his house. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So, anyway, so he says to the guard, like, hey, you know, I'm here to see Anthony Cooper. I'm his son. And the guard's like, he doesn't have a son. Locke says, please tell him that my mother is Emily Locke. I don't want anything from him. You know, I just want to see him. Guard kind of like calls up to the house, whatever, lets him in. As he's inside the house, he's standing in, I guess it's like a living room or sitting room or something like that. But he's looking around.
Receiving area.
Yes, the receiving area.
Yes, in a house that big. Yes. That is what that seems like. So he's looking around, and you can tell that this guy, his father, I guess, is quite an adventurer, just from the artifacts and the photographs and stuff like that. He's the kind of guy that you might expect to go on a walkabout. So,
indeed.
And it's very obvious that he's quite wealthy. So Mr. Cooper enters the room. He pours them both drinks from this like drink station crystal stuff all in the middle of the receiving room.
Or like really expensive scotch.
Right, exactly. So he tells Locke that he did not know about him until a year after he was born. And by then, Emily had said that Locke had been given up for adoption. And so what was he to do then? Obviously, he kind of had to let that go. And he said, he found this out when Emily came around looking for money. So apparently, she must be in and out of mental hospitals and having, has trouble, and he helps to support her. So he invites Locke to go hunting with him on Sunday. And Locke accepts and has like a huge smile on his face, right as the
Gee Willikers, Daddy. Like
it's kind of what it was like.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
It's very Leave It to Beaver with that haircut.
Yeah.
Right. So back on the island, Locke and Boone again are at the excavation site, and Locke tells Boone that he asked for a sign and the island gave him one. And he describes
Locke saw the sign and it opened up his eyes. Locke saw the sign.
Oh my God. No.
Yeah.
All right.
Woo! All right.
I was waiting for that one.
You were, yeah.
I was.
Well, congrats. It was amazed.
Yeah.
Amazed.
Balls. It was amazed
Past
balls.
tense. It's like, it's not amazing. It was amazed a long time ago.
It was amazed in the 90s.
Before you made that joke.
I tried to say amaze balls, but I stuttered. All right. So
Too much spaghetti.
Yeah, don't tell everybody I'm eating spaghetti. Now they're going to hear it. All right, so where in the hell was I? Oh, right. So Locke is telling Boone that he asked the island for a sign and he got one. And Boone tells him, like, it's a dream. Oh, he describes, the scene that we witnessed. And Boone says it was a dream. And Locke's like, well, maybe, but it was really real. Boone, still, he doesn't really believe him. And then Locke says, who is Teresa? And Boone looks shocked as fuck. And Locke says, Teresa falls up the stairs. Teresa falls down the stairs. Boone, with this look of, I don't know, terror almost on his face.
You can't tell with those eyebrows. You don't really.
I know. Yeah.
It's sort of like somewhere between like surprised and disfigured.
Disfigured.
He really needs to learn to control them like the way Emilia Clarke does. Like, her eyebrows are incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, that's a good point.
He's got like the dark side of the eyebrows, man.
Dark side. Oh my God. All right. So, Boone questions Locke, like, how do you know about Teresa? And Locke says, well, he doesn't know, but he does. He knows it. He's not sure how, but another thing that he knows is that they have got to find this plane because that is where they're going to get what they need to get in the hatch.
It's like, I'm Locke. I'm people who know people.
Yep.
He knows the island, I think, but...
And the crash site is the key.
So he thinks. Locke asks Boone if he's in for the adventure, and Boone, looking confused and concerned, nods. And he's still on the trip. And I think this is right around...
Let's go on a side quest. What the hell?
Seriously.
And I think it was in this scene that he said something to him, like, are you using that wacky paste that made me see my sister get eaten?
Yeah.
So we're back on the beach. Michael and Jen, the odd couple, are working together on their new raft. It's nearly back to where it was before burning down in a matter... Huh?
It's boat.
Is that what
raft. It's boat.
Excuse me. Boat. It's almost back to where it was before it burned down, which is amazing because I think it's been like 3 days or something.
Yeah.
Maybe 4. Anyway,
he was
so Jack
in construction, though.
Well, yeah. Sure. And then they counter that with Jack walking up and commenting on the speed of the construction. And Michael's like, oh, well, it was easier this time because, we already knew what we were doing. And Michael and Jin kind of have a little tiff. They argue about something, and Jack asks if he's been learning Korean. And Michael says, yes, he definitely knows the words for faster and idiot. Which I love.
Yeah.
How do you say cobbler in Korean?
Go to Google. Let's tell you.
Google Translate.
So Jack sees Sawyer leaning up against a tree, and he's got like a towel or shirt or something kind of over his eyes. He walks up and asks if Sawyer's okay. Sawyer responds, oh, now she's got you making house calls, to which Jack just turns and walks away immediately. He's like, okay, I can't deal with you.
Yeah, fuck off.
Yeah, and then, actually, I guess he asks him if he's light sensitive first. He gets a second quip and then just kind of like walks away. And Sawyer then stops him and tells him that he had an uncle die of a brain tumor, and he just wants to know if they're genetic. And Jack asks Sawyer if he's getting like any phantom smells, because that could, be an indication of a brain tumor. And then said he could run some diagnostics. And Sawyer's like, well, I would, but my insurance ran out. And I know. Jack thought it was funny, though. He laughed at the joke and kind of,
Doctor-patient humor.
Yes, doctor-patient humor.
Touching on something earlier, the way you say cobbler in Korean is gudu susongong.
Well, there you go.
Just in case you need to know that.
Just in case.
Right. Next time I'm in Korea.
Gudu susongong.
Okay. The funny part about the scene when it ends, when Jack just finally is, fed up with Sawyer's sarcasm and he walks away, and then Sawyer starts like sniffing the air, I guess, looking for phantom smells. Which I love. That
was just Jack farted, crop dusted him on the way out.
He totally should have.
Yeah. You smell that? All right. So Locke and Boone, we're back with them kind of walking through the jungle. They're discussing Locke's dream and how he was privy to the information about Teresa when Locke just like falls flat on his fucking face. His legs give out on him and he sort of wobbles up, but he's able to stand again, sort of. And when he does this, he sees a rosary, like in a bush or on a vine or something. He pulls it out, and a fucking body falls from the sky onto the ground. It's completely decayed. Bugs are crawling out of its eye sockets, and obviously had been stuck in a tree until then. And that takes us back into flashback number 4. Locke is again at the gate of his father's estate, and this time he's on like a first name chummy basis with the guard. And they chat a bit. Locke goes in, and when he walks into the room, he sees his father hooked up to a dialysis machine. And they have some exchange about, oh, you were supposed to be here at noon. Oh, I thought you said 11.
Bullshit.
Whatever. You're here now, and Mr. Cooper apologizes. He says Locke never should have seen this. He admits that he needs a kidney transplant or he needs dialysis to stay alive. And then he tells Locke, don't let this get him down. They're going to have a nice lunch and kill some birds, which is, I guess.
Now I got a question for everybody here. Obviously people fall for cons all the time. That's the reason why confidence men are in business, but
or the presidency, but
that too. Do you feel like if somebody were trying to run this type of shit on you, you'd sniff it?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
This particular one?
Yeah. Like I always think about it. It's always like you see people that fall for things like this, and you're just like, oh, those.
Yeah, but you see it in hindsight.
You see it in hindsight, yeah. But like I this specific thing, like this seems like a pretty convincing con.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, it does. And I mean, we'll talk about that more when we get to the end of the episode, like how they pulled it off. But this is convincing. They just relied on him being a decent human being.
I think they relied on him
being
desperate for a father figure, too. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, this would have never flown in anything else if he weren't in that kind of, oh, gee, I want a dad type thing. Like,
I got a daddy.
Which is what he played to.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess, that's what con men do. They find the places where you're weak and exploit it.
Find the weakness, yep.
Christy, would you have fallen for it?
I don't know.
Hell no, I'm keeping both my kidneys.
Yeah, I think that's where I draw the line, son. Is like you're not taking my fucking organs.
You're not getting any organs from me.
Yeah, I have enough medical problems as it is. I'm
You want to keep all yours.
Yeah, I don't want to have any more surgeries or hospitalizations than are completely necessary from my
only
life.
organ you're gonna get from me is a dick slap.
Jesus.
I was waiting for that. I knew that organ was going to be mentioned.
Wow.
Gonna hit you with 12 inches of limp dick.
Oh, God. What is happening? Your dick is not 12 inches when it's limp. I'm just going to throw that out there. I've seen it.
It's true.
You've been lying all these years, Ben. Just like Subway, they said it was 12 inches.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, babe?
Got any special occasions coming up that you need a card for?
Is this a trick question?
No, it's an advertisement.
Is this about barbcards.com again?
Bingo.
So I suppose you're going to remind me that each handmade card is only $1.50.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't come with busy backgrounds or flowery poetry.
You got it. Barbcards.com offers to-the-point communication within several different categories, including our favorite, potty mouth. And if you can't find what you want, barbcards.com can do customizations.
Can I still get all of my cards for no more than $4 shipping, no matter the size of the order?
You know it. Barbcards.com has got all you need. Hey, Ben.
Oh my God, what are we selling now?
Merch.
Our merch?
Yes, sir. Shirts, coffee mugs, wine tumblers, bottle openers, stickers, magnets, and more. Your choice of product and your choice of Space Bear Media graphic from any of our podcasts.
Please tell me we're not making merch now, too.
Of course not. We'll stick to podcasts, and Pixis products will do the rest.
Thank God. I bet you have more to say, though.
Sure do. Pixis Products is a small business run by a local mom, well, local to us anyway, who needed something else to do besides being a snack bitch.
What?
A snack bitch, also known as a mom with a young child.
There's still more, isn't there?
Yepers! Pixis Products works with other small businesses for supplies, art, and other collaborations at every opportunity, including ours. In fact, Pixis Products even gave Space Bear Media our own storefront on their site. You can find us at shopspacebear.com.
Say what?
You heard me. Go to shopspacebear.com and buy something. All right, so back on the island, Locke and Boone are like inspecting this body. They find that he's dressed like a priest, and they also find a knife, which is sort of disguised as a pen, and a large wad of Nigerian cash. How the fuck Locke knows it's Nigerian, I don't really know. I mean, maybe it says it right on the money.
Probably fell for one of those Nigerian scams.
Yeah, maybe.
Money.
Right. He's like, it's really, really weird. I met this Nigerian prince a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and he left me all this money, and all I had to do was give him my bank account number.
It was actually, he was getting dialysis. We didn't find out that his dad was actually the Nigerian prince.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so Boone is like wondering, well, what the hell is a Nigerian priest doing on an island in the South Pacific? And that's when Locke pulls a gun from the body's clothes and says, I'm not so sure he was a priest.
Now, that gun, no, maybe it was a composite or something like that. Maybe it was a Glock or something, but it was pristine for having been out in the jungle for a lot of time.
In the tropical air.
Yeah.
Especially with, a decaying body there. Clearly it was, decaying body. It was there for a long time.
The prop person forgot to age it.
Exactly.
So,
the island is magic, guys.
That is true.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, it's a weirdly common place for ships and planes to crash on. Like, why?
Yeah,
why
it's like they're drawn there or
island?
something.
Yeah.
Weird magnetic pull or something. I don't know. The whole thing with the compass and Saeed.
Yeah, that's true.
Definitely. You're definitely seeing hints.
Yep.
Oh, things to come.
Because the earth is flat.
Yeah, most people I don't get. It's like every other celestial body is round except for the Earth.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
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 So we're back on the beach, and Sawyer is like, you can tell he's really uncomfortable. With every crashing wave, his head hurts even more and more. People are banging on stuff, building their shelters, and he just screams at them to keep it down. Kate comes over and like forces him to go see Jack in the caves. And Jack, this whole scene is fucking beautiful.
I love it. I love it when they like invoke the extras in a scene, because he's like, hey, and he goes over there and all of the extras look up and they all just look dumb. They're like banging. You see this guy like banging on something. It's like, why are you banging on that? There's no reason why he's doing this other than to make noise.
Yep.
Well, yeah, you're right. Whenever
Fucking
they
extras.
cuts to the extras, they're always kind of like, derp. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. So
that's why they're extras.
What'd you say?
So that's why they're extras.
That's right.
Oh, well, I guess so. Right. Yeah. So, anyways, Jack is doing some diagnostics on Sawyer, and this scene is amazing because Sawyer is like, Sawyer's complaining every fucking step of the way. So Jack has just like had it, and he decides he's going to ask Sawyer a few questions. He says, have you ever had a blood transfusion, taken malaria medication, had sex with a prostitute? And Sawyer says no to the first two and yes to the last. So then Jack asks if he's ever had an STD. Sawyer gives him like a death stare, and Jack's like, I'll mark that down as a yes as well. And then he says, when was your last outbreak? And that's when Sawyer's like, fuck this. He gets up, he's pissed, and he storms off. And once he's out of earshot, Jack looks at Kate and just says, he needs glasses.
It's funny he was asking all these questions in front of Kate, too.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Of course,
oh, no.
Of course.
Yes.
So, she thinks that's funny. You can tell she's amused by him. But anyway, we're back in the jungle, and Locke is really struggling to walk at this point. And Boone is like, what the fuck is going on with your legs? He's like, oh, the shrapnel. And Boone's like, no, it's both your legs. Like, what is happening right now? And so Locke confesses the truth. He tells him that he's been in a wheelchair for 4 years and that the island gave him his legs back. And now the island is taking them away again, and he doesn't understand why.
The island is angry.
Yes.
And he thinks he's doing everything he's supposed to.
And it taketh away.
Well, apparently. So
they must have like moved a tiki from a cave or something like that.
Yeah, it took too many of the torches.
Yeah.
Put them on the beach.
So the island's mad and he's just like take his legs back?
Yeah.
All right.
Didn't you ever see the Brady Bunch episode where they went to Hawaii and like brought a tiki back and they had all this bad luck and they had
like the tiki was cursed?
What? Yeah, you're not supposed to take the tikis off. I don't know exactly what the thing
really?
is.
Is that like a
an actual Hawaiian
type thing?
I think it's like a, I don't know, Polynesian thing or a Hawaiian
Polynesian
thing.
You're right. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know the exact right term, and I don't want to offend anybody, but I think that's a thing.
It's just like part of the culture. Oh, that's interesting. I never knew that.
You're not supposed to take the tiki?
Oh, for fuck's sake!
You're just going to get laid. That's it.
I don't know.
You take the tiki, you don't get laid.
After a few years ago, all I can think of when I see tiki torches is fucking white supremacists. So I don't know.
Oh yeah, I remember that crap. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways,
to be fair, you see white supremacists everywhere.
Both sides. Yeah.
Whoa.
Because they kind of are everywhere.
Okay, sorry. Both of you were talking at the same time, and I have no idea what just happened there. But that's okay. Let's move on.
Were we speaking in Korean?
No.
That's what it was.
Okay.
All right. So after Locke tells him the truth, Boone wants to know why he was in a wheelchair. And I'm over here like, yeah, we all do.
Yes.
Fuck. And he doesn't tell him. He says it's not important. What's important is that they have to get to that plane because they need to open that hatch.
Yes, they do.
Yes,
they do. Open that hatch.
So we're in flashback number 5 now. And Locke and his father are walking through a field with guns. Looks like it's just after he found him with dialysis, so they're out hunting the birds. His father is wearing a stupid-ass looking beret on his head that annoys me more than probably should have. But he's explaining to Locke like how to hunt different types of birds, and they're having this bonding experience or whatever. And his father says that Emily might be crazy, but at least she brought them together while they still have time. And he even calls him son.
No, one thing I noticed here.
Not the S-U-N.
He's showing him how to hunt, but at the same time, like if you're hunting dove, at least in my experiences, you don't walk around to hunt dove. You walk around to hunt quail, to hunt pheasant. If you're hunting dove don't come up from the ground. They roost in trees. So you need to stay on the edge of a field, and they fly really fucking fast. They're like 50, 55 miles an hour. You basically have to stay out of sight and wait for them to fly like normal and just fucking knock them out of the sky. So
I thought it was weird too. I thought they were hunting pheasant. That's what it looked like to me, but they do mention doves.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe it's different. This was down in Texas when we were hunting dove, but
maybe the dove are different in Texas from in other places.
Yeah, they have guns.
They have guns on their hips. Exactly.
Yeah. They shoot back at you,
and a sense of smoke superiority.
Okay, so
hey, we were our own country at one time. So,
oh Jesus Christ,
we have Six Flags over Texas.
That's true.
And we have the Alamo.
Yeah, remember it.
Pee Wee Herman.
The basement.
That movie is a fucking gem.
It is.
It is.
It is really
great.
All right.
Well, I used to watch the Pee Wee's Playhouse in the 80s when it was on
hell
Saturday mornings.
Mecca high, Mecca honey
ho.
Okay, so
Lawrence Fishburne, one of his first gigs.
Yeah.
It sucks that Paul Rubens got caught slapping it in the theater.
Yeah,
you know what? That was such a big deal when it happened.
I know.
And I don't
remember.
think it.
So quaint.
I don't think it wouldn't be a big deal now. Half the fucking country was watching each other jerk off during the pandemic because they didn't know how to use Zoom. Everybody was fine.
True. That's true. Everyone was fine.
Yeah, but
Everybody was fine.
I think it was the fact that he did a kids show and he was jerking off in a porno
and he was jerking
theater.
off in.
If he was just on like a normal sitcom, then it would have been fine.
Yeah.
But a lot of people forget that Pee-wee had a history of doing crazier things before he did Pee-wee's Playhouse. He was in one of the Cheech and Chong movies.
Oh, really?
I didn't know that. Rubin.
Yeah,
Paul Rubin was in it, and they were all on acid or something, and he kept going, man, and then he wrote a check out to Hamburger Man. I don't remember exactly which movie that was, but
Up in Smoke?
Cheech and Chong, something drug related.
Oh, okay. Now I'm gonna have to go back and watch the Cheech and Chong movies. Thank you.
Let's do that when you come to visit.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. So back on the island, Boone is practically dragging Locke at this point through the jungle. He drops him on the ground and kind of leans over him and says that Teresa was his nanny. And he then explains that when he was a 6-year-old, he was a terrible human being because his mother ignored him all the time. And so he took it out on his nanny, and he used to use the intercom from his bedroom downstairs to make her run up and down the stairs to do errands for him or whatever. And one day she tripped, she broke her neck, and she died. And in response to this, Locke begins laughing. And Boone is like pissed, like, what the fuck is so funny? And that's when Locke like points over his shoulder, and Boone turns around to see high up in the jungle canopy a yellow prop plane, the one they're looking for, up at the top.
So Boone says he was a terrible child because his mother ignored him. Did he not consider that maybe his mother ignored him because he was a terrible child?
That's true.
I mean, yeah, I guess you can do that. I think you're supposed to feel a little bit sorry for Boone because he was raised by the Martha Stewart of matrimony or whatever they call her. So it sounds like she's like high-powered woman who doesn't have time for her.
Well, I mean, when
kids,
he was an adult, she gave him a business to run. So,
right.
Well, so did the Trump kids got that too, but I don't think they got love.
Jesus.
So,
no. I don't know. The way that he used to put his hands on his daughter.
I think she got love.
So ooky.
Oh, yeah.
God. That's an excellent word for it, too.
Yep.
Ooky.
Ooky. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
My daughter's
hands.
very beautiful.
My little
Look at
hands.
her body. It's like, oh, God, Christ. Just die already.
Yeah.
He'll live to 100.
Anyway, of course, right.
Fucker.
So anyways, Locke tells Boone, like, we got to get in that plane, and it's going to be you, bruh, because I can't walk. And we're back now into a flashback. Again, it is number 6 of the episode. Locke and his father are both in a hospital room in separate beds. They're surrounded by giant bouquets of flowers, and they're holding hands. And his father tells him it's not too late to back out, and it has become obvious that Locke has decided to give up one of his kidneys for his father. And Locke says he doesn't want to back out, that this was meant to be. Super short flashback. We're already back on the beach. And Jack is approaching Sawyer, who then sees Jack coming and says if Jack wants a stool sample, that he's out of luck. And
he's out the shit cards.
Yeah. So Jack tosses this box into the sand and kneels before Sawyer and tells him that he has hyperopia. Sawyer looks extremely concerned until Jack explains that means that he's farsighted and he needs glasses to read all of those books that he's always reading. And he opens the box. It's clearly somebody has salvaged a bunch of glasses from the wreckage and the dead bodies. And so Jack is having Sawyer, put them on one by one and looking at some writing, better, worse, whatever.
Number one, number two.
Right. Like anybody that's had an eye exam knows that.
Number three, number four. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that's essentially what they were doing. And then Jack tries to hand him a certain pair, and Sawyer's just like, no. And you hear Jack saying, it's not a fashion show.
Right.
And we cut to Saeed, who is soldering 2 pairs of glasses, or he cuts them in half and then solders 2 different pairs together because I guess his eyes are different prescriptions. Is what
you
we're
always
saying.
have soldering guns on an island.
Seriously. It's like Saeed's lens crafter. He's like, glasses in about an hour.
Still don't have
Seriously, are you
shoes.
kidding me? We have a fucking optometrist on the island now.
Yeah.
Give me a break. It's
no
still no cobbler.
Damn
God
cobbler.
damn it.
No
Seriously.
cobbler.
At least a tanner making leather at this point. Something. Come
you
on.
got the boar
People
skins.
survival.
Oh my God. Anyway, so as he's putting these 2 pairs of glasses together, you can see what they look like. And one of them is thick black rims, and the other is a very pretty golden cat eye. And so Sawyer then puts them on. He, does the little test. He can see he can read easily. And just then Hurley walks by and he catches sight of Sawyer in his new glasses and said, dude looks like someone steamrolled Harry Potter. And to that, Kate fucking loses it laughing. Sawyer yanks the glasses off his face and looks at Jack and says, you love this, don't you? And of course, yes, he does.
Yes.
So, back in the jungle, Boone is climbing straight up a huge fucking tree to the top of the jungle canopy like he's a monkey or something.
I thought it was kind of wasn't it on sort of an outcropping
A ledge.
rock?
Yeah, it was like a ledge of
I
rock.
felt
Well,
all you had to do was go find where that outcropping began and walk up the other side of it. I don't really feel like he had
they
to go
don't
straight
show
up.
that. They show him climbing up it.
Right,
I
yeah, he didn't
understand
have to
that.
climb.
Oh, okay. You're saying he
Yes.
didn't have to.
They did that
Yes.
for dramatic effect, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because all these people who have been basically starving on an island for 40 days have the strength to scale trees. Yes, of course. So anyways, he gets up there, and as he's climbing, you can tell that the plane is not super secure. It's just kind of sitting on the top of the canopy because it's wobbling around. And he crawls into it, and inside the plane, first there's another body in there. And then there's also a map of Africa with Nigeria written very large in English on the map. Doesn't make much sense, but I guess that's for us.
I didn't catch that. That's great.
Yeah, so it's written in English. Yeah. So then the plane.
The
I gotta stop stuttering today, guys.
Deprane, boss. Deprane.
So at that moment, the plane kind of comes a little bit loose and pitches forward, sort of, but it's still in the canopy. Locke is desperately trying to get up, but he just absolutely can't. He's screaming for Boone, and then Boone pops out of the window holding a statue of Mother Mary. And he tells Locke that the plane is full of crates of these, and then he pitches it to the ground. It shatters to reveal multiple bags of heroin.
So what we're saying
Where's
is
Charlie?
that Boone is in a cockpit filled with drugs and Marys.
Yes.
You all, everybody.
You all, everybody.
I expected Charlie to come out of the jungle there and start
Seriously?
picking those bags.
He just pulls a lock. He pops up. Hey,
Hey, all right.
I'm a
Does a
bloody
line.
rock god.
Party over here. All right. So anyway, so Boone is fucking pissed because again, he's like, Locke, you said we had to do this. These guys are just drug smugglers. What the shit? And after he yells at Locke, he kind of goes up into the cockpit and decides that he's going to start fiddling with knobs or whatever. And all of a sudden, are you laughing at that?
I mean, that plane has been there for a while.
Bunch of Marys cockpits fiddling with knobs. I mean, there's all kinds of fun stuff going on. He's in the Mile High Club.
Yes, it is.
Oh my God. Okay. So Static all of a sudden through the radio. And he picks up the walkie-talkie. He's talking in like, hello, hello. And as he's doing this, the plane is like starting to move again. And he's saying, I'm a survivor from Oceanic Flight 815. And this man responds and he says, but there were no survivors of Oceanic Flight 815. And then the plane pitches forward again. It falls out of the canopy. It falls, hits the ground, nose first, and just absolutely obliterates the entire cockpit. Locke starts crawling across the jungle. He's kind of dragging himself over to the plane to try to find Boone. He gets there. He gets inside the plane. He finds Boone unconscious and bloodied exactly how he was bloodied in his vision. And all of a sudden, Locke finds the strength. He's able not only to get up and walk, but to pick Boone up and throw him over his shoulder and hobble, like, kind of bow-legged back to camp.
And now Boone has survived 2 plane crashes.
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing is, that he's in one. He's in one that's moving super, super fast. A jet, 20,000 feet up, crashes, not a scratch. This thing, maybe 50 feet off the ground, 60 feet off the ground. Not really going any speed, just kind of falls straight down. And that's what gets him.
I don't know. I'm surprised he wasn't just completely crushed because he was in the cockpit. And when it hit the ground, the cockpit disappeared. So I don't know how he got out of there. He should have been annihilated in the plane.
Annihilated? Wow. Like a antimatter reaction?
Yeah.
When he was on the radio, I thought what they said, there was no survivors. The guy on the radio said, we're the survivors of Oceanic Flight 815.
Is that what he said?
That's the transcript, yes. Because I had to look it up. They actually said we're. Yes.
I never caught that.
We're the survivors. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I
think we need earmuff.
Oh.
Derek.
Okay, Derek, earmuff yourself, please. Okay.
So he looks away, like he can read lips.
I know.
What if it's the people in the tail?
Right. That's what I'm assuming. If it did say that, that's what I would assume. But I've seen this show through 4 or 5 fucking times and never once caught that's what it said, at least in that moment. Now I'm wondering if when we get in season 2 and we start meeting those people, we're going to have to keep a lookout for that scene and see if we see it again from another angle. And that we just, I didn't realize. We're definitely
going to see the plane again because of Mr. Echo.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And Anna Lucia and Libby.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Okay. Come back, Derek. Come back. Alrighty then.
Okay.
So, So thanks for looking that up on the transcript. So they said, we're the survivors of Flight 815. That really changes it. And like I was saying, Derek, when we had you earmuffed, I've seen the show through like 4 or 5 different times and never once caught that. So
I'm really glad you said that because like we were saying when you were earmuffed and then you say exactly what you're supposed to hear.
No, I didn't tell him the earmuff part.
Right.
I know. But it seemed like you were about to. When you said
it, I was thinking about the same. I was thinking the same thing.
I apologize. So we are now back in the caves, and Kate asks Jack if he knew before or after he asked Sawyer about his last outbreak that he needed glasses. And Jack kind of dodges the question, citing doctor-patient confidentiality. But we all know he did it on purpose, obviously, and so does she. So she thanks him for helping Sawyer, and Jack says he didn't do it for him.
Aww.
And just then, in this lovely little moment, you hear Locke screaming. He comes running into the caves, carrying Boone over his shoulders. He lays him down and lies to Jack about what happened. Jack says, obviously what the hell happened. And he says that Boone fell from a cliff while they were hunting.
Well, he did. He was just in an airplane cockpit.
Exactly.
Yeah. He didn't tell the whole truth.
Right.
And I guess they were hunting for something.
Hunting for answers.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Jack like rips open the front of Boone's shirt, and it is gruesome, like to the point where Kate kind of throws her hands up over her mouth and looks like she might throw up.
Yeah, he looks screwed.
Yeah, and so Jack is screaming for people like get me water and shirt and towels and anything that can stop bleeding. And as Jack's rifling through, the medical supplies that they like had gathered and put in the caves, he says, Locke, tell me exactly what happened. And then he turns around and Locke is gone.
Just as easily he creeps up, he disappears.
He just disappears, man.
He creeped right on out.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we are now in flashback number, is it 6?
7.
Yes.
Yeah, 6, I feel like I wrote
7.
6 twice on my outline here, which is why I sounded confused. So flashback number 7, the last one of the episode, Locke wakes up in the same hospital room that we saw he and his father in before, except now all of the flowers are gone and his father's bed is empty. A nurse is there taking his vitals, and he asks where his father is. She tells him Mr. Cooper checked out and hired home care. And Locke seems really confused by this and asks if he was left a message. And the woman says no, she didn't even really know he was his father, and then tells him that she's going to go get him some juice. As she walks out, Locke is kind of shifting in his bed, and you can tell that he's in a lot of pain. Obviously, he just had a surgery where they took an organ out.
Is it the wheelchair? Is it?
What did you say?
Is this what caused him to go to the wheelchair? They botched a surgery?
Yeah. So again, right. So again, you're wondering, like, okay, did he wake up paralyzed?
Right.
So you hear the voice of Swoozie Kurtz say, it was his idea. And Locke looks up and they see her, Emily, of course, standing in the doorway. And she proceeds to explain to him that this has been a con all along. She needed money, again, from his father, and he needed a kidney. And his father said that it had to be Locke's idea to give the kidney.
Inception.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. So Locke is, he can't believe it. He's starting to cry. He's just saying, no, this can't be happening. This can't be happening. He wouldn't do this to me. And he kind of
game over, man. Game over.
Yeah.
We're all dead, man.
He rips the IV from his arm, and you can tell like he is headed out to find his father. And I
just
just
stopped and got a
trebuchet. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Are you seriously? Like, this is terrible. This is just terrible.
See, the thing about it is that's funny though is like he leaves like he's all like I'm gonna go take care of this or whatever, and then the next scene he's driving in a Beetle. You immediately lose all of like this sort of aggressiveness or whatever when you see somebody driving a Beetle.
See, that's whenever he needed to be in a Hummer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can just mow over that guard station and just drive into the receiving room.
I just
At
imagine
this point,
him
he may as well be in a smart car,
Yeah, right.
Right.
Like he needs to be coming up on like a white horse, like really looking menacing, but no, a Beetle. Jesus. Yeah.
So
you're not going to get in there, man.
We do cut to him driving pretty furiously, and he looks really upset. And again, it's another one of these moments like, okay, he's about to get in a car accident. This is how he's in a wheelchair. But nope, he pulls up to his father's gate, and he wants to be let in. His pal, Eddie the guard, will not let him in at this point. Locke gets out of his car. You can see him bleeding at the incision site through his shirt. He looks over to a security camera, which kind of moves you can tell that it's now looking at Locke, and he points at it and he speaks directly to his father. You can't do this. And it's very measured, sort of reserved kind of, you can't do this. Like he is going to get back at him. Gets back in his car, takes off driving. Again, you're thinking, okay, here it comes. He's going to get in an accident. And he's sobbing and screaming and pounding like on the roof of the car and yelling. And then he stops the car, slumps over the steering wheel, and just sobs.
I was expecting an 18-wheeler to just rear end him and
come out of nowhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then they cut back to the palatial estate like 2 weeks later, and he's fashioning a trebuchet.
Yeah.
To get over the wall. Yeah.
No, he's we're just going to knock this house down around you then.
Yep.
So we cut from Locke sobbing over his steering wheel back to the island where Locke is now sobbing over the hatch. He's on his hands and knees. He's pounding on the window and he's crying and I've done everything you wanted me to do. So why did you do this to me? And it feels like he's talking both to his father and to the island in this moment.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's all kind of like wrapped into one, and he's sobbing and he's pounding on it, and the camera kind of pulls back slowly. They're giving you the wide angle, and you see this huge hatch that's been excavated, and this tiny Locke sitting on the top of it. His forehead is on the metal, just on the window, and then all of a sudden, a beam of light comes through the window and illuminates his face and the jungle around him. And you get lost title screen. It's the end of the episode. And I'm literally covered in goosebumps. I'm freaking out. I can't wait to watch it.
That's how I was that night watching that episode. I was like, holy shit. Wow. All he had to do was just yell at the hatch and it opened, or it light up.
Well, the light came on.
Right.
All right. So today's fun fact is going to be a little bit of different format. And instead of a fun fact, what I am going to talk to you about is an anecdote from my life. And I want you to bear with me because I am going somewhere. So in 2008, I went to my very first caucus. In this state of Washington, we have since changed that. We do mail-in voting now. But at the time, we had caucuses. And I wanted to caucus for Barack Obama. I thought that he was going to, let's just say I was into him at the time. And I went to the caucus. And for people who haven't been to a caucus ever, essentially what happens is you get there, everybody who's registered to vote comes in, you are split up into randomized groups. And within your groups, you decide who you are going to caucus for. And then someone out of that group ends up being voted to represent as a delegate, right? So we've all heard delegates. We know delegates go to conventions and stuff, right? So I went to my first precinct caucus. That's the first step. And this was when actually I lived in Skagit Valley, around the corner from the pumpkin trebuchets. And so I was chosen as a delegate at the precinct caucus, which means I had to go to the legislative caucus, the kind of one step higher. And I went there and I caucused again. And then I was again voted by a group to be a state representative. So I got to go to the Washington State Convention and officially cast a vote to make Barack Obama the nominee that year over Hillary Clinton. So the way the caucus works, it's like a huge convention, essentially. And, you know, they use convention rooms within hotels and everybody stays in the hotels. And each night, different groups throw these huge, like, hotel parties, basically, in these giant suites. And you just kind of walk around from suite to suite. And I was part of the Young Democrats at the time. And so we had our own party suite. And everybody just kind of, like, you know, hung out, got drunk. So, anyways, what'd you say?
Had sex.
Actually, there was some of that, yeah. So I'm in one of these suites with some Democrats, and I'm standing in this group of people, and we're all, you know, just kind of talking, chatting, and I'm looking across from me, and there's this guy who's part of this group, and he's leaning up against this railing, and he's kind of nodding along, but hadn't really said anything yet, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, how do I know this person? And I'm racking my brain, and I'm thinking, like, through all of this process that I'd been through, had I run into him somewhere? How do I know this guy? And then he chimed. Boone? No. Then he chimed into the conversation, and the second I heard his voice, mind you, it was 2008, so we're in the middle of this show. I blurted out like a fucking drunk idiot, Jesus fucking Christ, you're on Lost. And he kind of laughed, and it was Mr. Cooper, Locke's dad.
No shit.
And
really? Holy shit.
Yes.
You know, that guy plays a douchebag in just about everything he's in.
Is it?
I hope that he's really a nice guy in real life.
So he really is a nice guy in real life. And his name is
Kevin.
He
was at the Democrat caucus, so, you know.
His name is Kevin Tighe.
How do you pronounce okay.
Tighe. It's Tighe. It's spelled Tighe, but it's pronounced Kevin Tighe. And he lives in the Skagit Valley, and he has lived there since the 80s. And he always traveled back and forth to LA and New York to do acting. And I did not know that until that day. And I actually, like, he laughed because he saw me get starstruck all of a sudden. And so at this point, it's 2008. So we're in like season, 3 or 4 at this point?
Probably.
And I'm talking about season 1. We're not going to earmuff you again, Derek, but the character does appear again in later seasons. So, so anyways, I just kind of hung out with him for a little while. I asked him some questions about being on the show, and he was really gracious as I totally fucking fangirled out on him. And anyways, that was it. That's the whole story. He's a really cool guy. He's not an awful fucking asshole in real life. So
he only plays one on TV.
Yeah, well, he was in a show though before all of this in the 70s called Emergency, and he played like a firefighter / paramedic. And so I don't think that he was an asshole. And I mean, I guess he could have been. But. Alrighty, let's move on to moments. Ben, what were your best and worst?
I think my favorite was actually a couple of scenes. It was really just when Jack was fucking with Sawyer. It was nice to see Jack be able to kind of take the position where he could flex nuts a little bit. Like Sawyer has just been such a dick to him the whole time. So it was nice to see Jack be able to just kind of almost playful, but also to kind of get his ribbing in. Yeah. The worst moment, obviously, I think is like when Locke wakes up and figures the whole, his mom for real sort of confirms the con. I mean, that's just literally sort of I was going to say that's a gut punch, but that's
Kidney
that really
punch?
Sucks. Yeah, it's a kidney punch.
punch.
Is it a kidney punch?
Yeah.
All right, Derek, how about you?
My best moment was, even though it was a con, was Locke was willing to give up his kidney to save his father. He thought was a good man.
Yeah, isn't it interesting how the show starts off and Locke is just like creepy and menacing, and as you go on, he becomes just like a nice guy, building cradles and giving away kidneys and stuff.
Right. Yeah, but then he does weird shit, like, I don't know, drugging Boone and tying him up.
I know, but there's an argument to be made that it was the right thing for
to help
Boone.
Free Boone from.
Did him a whole lot of good.
It's assault to do that to someone, but it worked, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then the worst moment was when Locke woke up in the hospital and realized what his father had done. That was real shitty.
That's fucked up.
That's my worst moment too, although I phrased it when Locke finds out he's the mouse in the trap.
Yeah.
Yes.
And my best moment, it's the fucking light. Like the light came on. It came on in the hatch, and oh my God.
Blinded by the light.
I do have a close second, though, and that's Sawyer in his glasses when he has to put the glasses on. It's great. Christy,
Harry
how
Potter
about you?
steamrolled?
Yes, steamrolled Harry Potter.
I absolutely love all of the stuff with Jack messing with Sawyer, asking about his medical history and the whole phantom smells thing. But I'm with you, the light at the end.
I mean, yes.
It's just like, oh my God, So yeah, the light. Worst moment, also, Locke realizing that he was conned by his father. Just such a betrayal. That was awful. So those are my best.
Fucking horrible. How about your characters, Christy?
So top is going to be Locke,
Yeah.
Not always going to be him when it's a Locke episode, I think. But in this case, for me, it definitely was Locke. And the bottom, obviously, Mr. Cooper. He's, an asshole.
Yeah.
So.
Fucking and killing?
I'm fucking Jack, and I'm killing Mr. Cooper.
All right. I also had Locke as the best character and Mr. Cooper as the worst character. It's really hard to have, I feel like, other ones besides that. We'll see what the guys think. But I'm going to kill Mr. Cooper, and I'm going to fuck Sawyer while he's wearing the glasses.
Really? After the whole STD conversation, you're going to...
Seriously.
Can you just let me have my fantasy?
They have antibiotics on the island.
Oh, yeah. That's
Seriously.
True. He's not in a current outbreak. All right. Next, Derek, what about your rankings?
Best was Locke, of course, for what he did. And then the worst was Mr. Cooper. I'll kill him too. I'll kill Anthony Cooper, and I'm going to fuck Kate this episode.
You hadn't had her in a little while.
Yeah.
Just got to come back to that every so often. All right. Ben, what are your rankings? And then where are we after this episode? I have a feeling it's bad news for Kate.
You would think so, yeah. For best character, obviously Locke. Worst character, Mr. Cooper. Probably have a clean sweep on that one.
Yeah.
In this one, I'm going to do what Two Plane Crashes couldn't do, and I'm going to kill Boone. Just
okay, yeah.
Put him out of our fucking misery. For who I'm going to fuck, at this point in the island, I think sex is boring. All I really care about is the hatch. So
you're going to fuck the hatch?
I'm going to fuck the hatch.
Oh, you're going to dry hump the hatch.
Oh, yeah. I didn't say anything about dry humping.
He's going to fuck it. He's like going to hump it.
Raw dog.
I got something. I got something for you. You got a trebuchet? I got Cialis, son. I'm going to show you how to break through this fucking thing.
Wow. Okay. So what do our rankings look like, Ben?
Hashtag Cialis. Hashtag sponsor us. So you were right. It was bad
Cialis,
news for Kate.
Dick so hard you can get in the hatch. You can break in the hatch.
You can do what a trebuchet could do.
You can smash that hatch.
Smash the hatch.
Perfect. Smash the hatch.
That's it.
You see that?
Right,
you see that?
That's it. That's the one. Call us.
Yeah, I did study marketing.
Yes. Bad news for Kate is Locke
bad
number
news
one.
for Kate. Locke is number one. A healthy lead, actually, after this. And then, Kate falling to second. Jack, old trusty, old reliable, in third place. We actually had some movement for the first time in a while on the bottom. Obviously, Shannon is still down there. But we had Sawyer and Ethan kind of switch places. Sawyer actually fell to second, and Ethan moved up to third. So I'm not really sure how it happened, but it did.
Sawyer, fell to... You mean he's raising. He got more points.
No, he fell to second.
I'm confused. How did he go down? Did people have him marked as the worst character or something?
I'm not sure exactly. What
happened?
Seems weird because I had him in my best and I fucked him, and that's really strange.
Negative 53. Yeah, he's. I had it backwards. Yeah. Ethan's in third place and Sawyer's in second. Okay. That's my bad. Which I don't think was actually movement from the previous week. So I don't think there was any movement on the bottom. Diggity.
What are your final impressions, Ben?
My final impressions were, the whole show was obviously one big game of mousetrap, which was cool. I like it's not the most subtle image, or the subtle sort of symbolism, but it worked really well. I like how they sort of again made Locke a little more sort of wide-eyed and G. Williker, which kind of set him up to be, the ultimate mark. Mm-hmm. And I thought
they made him seem so naive, and then he really was naive.
And I like how they start to sort of conflate the father and the island, and it's ultimately he's somebody who's gone through the ultimate betrayal from both his kind of birth parents.
Yeah.
So his
really
he
was double screwed.
He's looking for something to look up to. He's looking for something to be And it's the island. The island has been his answer to all of these things about his feelings of being valuable and all that. So I liked that, and I liked how it kind of took it away from him. And that's obviously why we see all this stuff happening, or going through the whole ordeal with Mr. Cooper, and then ending up with the light turning on while he's on the hatch. I think it was another really, really great episode, which is not uncommon in season 1.
Yeah. Christy, how about you?
It makes me feel just so empathetic to Locke for all of his losses. I mean, finding out that his parents are both fucking assholes, and and he lost a kidney, and we still don't know how he lost, his ability to walk, but he's had a lot of losses in his life, and the whole thing is just a dick punch.
Yeah. Yeah, I had in my final impressions that the entire episode is just a tease. I think I even said it at the top of the episode, where you just okay, this is it. This is it. This is it. No, they do not give you the wheelchair payoff, but they do give you a light in the hatch. It's one of the best moments of season 1. I was jumping out of my skin when I watched it, and I couldn't wait to hear what Derek thought. So, Derek, impressions and questions.
This was a really good episode. Locke finds out who his real parents are, and turns out to bite him in the ass. He believed his father loves him and spent time with him, and in fact, it was just a con to get a kidney. And his mother's also a POS because she did it for money. So
for real,
double, yeah. Oh, there it was. It was just like a double gut punch. You could see one of your parents being shitty, the other one being good, but this is both of his parents. I mean,
conspiring against him. Yeah, it's terrible.
It sucks. But then, we got the happy ending with the hatch, the light in the hatch, which was truly amazing. Because, I got the goosebumps like Lacy did at that scene. I was like, wow, finally. But so my biggest question goes back to the transmission in the plane was they said, we're survivors of Flight 815. How can that be?
Huh. How
Indeed.
Could that be?
Yeah.
Indeed. Well, I am going to tell you that you're going to have to wait for season 2 to find that out. But it's not, it won't be unanswered. Until then, next week, we'll see you guys for episode 20. It is called Do No Harm. It's a Jack episode, and we are going to hear from Derek again. Join us. Till then, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Lost in My 40s is a Space Bear Media production. Executive produced and edited by me, Lacy J. Sound engineering, editing, and original music by Benjamin Trim. Like and follow Lost in My 40s on Facebook to interact with your hosts. Plus, follow Space Bear Media on YouTube to watch our episode pre-shows. You can also find us at SpaceBear_media on Instagram and Twitter. Or come to our website, spacebearmedia.com.